going overseas fighting these guys, and they're just robbing me from the decisions. Well, I got robbed in Berlin, Germany in February. 12-round WBC title fight. I got robbed in February. They messaged me at the end of February, asked me if I wanted to fight in April for the WBC title in Munich, Germany. And I said, "You damn right I am." I came back home, I trained, I went back there, and I knocked him out in the 8th round and won the WBC title. But you know what? I could have given up. I could have given up, the 4 times before that, because it was starting to get to me a bit, going away and fighting, knowing that I'm dedicating my life and everything, and then me just getting robbed, winning the fight, but not winning the judges because they're not on my side. And I went after this one, and get this, when I won my WBC title fight, the 3rd round, the guy blows me. They take a point away from him. I knock him out in the 8th round. We get the scorecards after. Guess what they gave him in the 3rd round? 10-9.
10.
I'm like,
after a point deduction, how?
10 minus 1 is 9. So how do you got him 10, me 9? So if we would have went to decision, based on that, I would have lost again.
Wow.
But thank God for that left hook. I put him out. So, that's another day right there where I'm like, God was looking out for me,
Why is boxing so corrupt? Like, seriously,
man, it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable, and it's just
unbelievably corrupt.
And I tell people it's because it's the business. I said, before you take boxing as a sport, you need to understand that it's a business before the sport. And if you don't see that, stay out of it. I never had a promoter backing me. I never had a manager. I got all my fights and everything myself. You know what? I message guys all around the world. Oh, yeah, you got this guy? I'll fight him. How much money you got for me? I got gloves. I will travel.
But then, there's always that place of, having an experienced, promoter pushing you. So, for example, look at Anthony Joshua. Look at what Eddie Hearn has been able to, make out of his career. Like, I admire that a lot. You always need those guys that are experienced, who can sit at the table for you and, negotiate those deals for you. But I think a lot of them still in boxing are quite corrupt as well. Only if you have like the real great guys.
Yeah.
you see what happened with Mike Tyson. And then they tend to mismanage your money. But would you say you are happy you managing, both the sports and the business side of your own career by yourself?
Yeah, I wish, at the beginning of my career, I had somebody, that, would have helped me out and obviously, helped me move along getting those right fights. But, I got to that point where I was at that age where it's like, I don't have a promoter backing me. So this is the one thing that all professional boxers need to understand. If you don't have a promoter backing you with money, you will never become world champion. It's just the way boxing works. If you don't have a promoter, you're not going to have that guy backing you. Those fights that I went over and fought those guys on their shows, they made them win. They didn't have to win. They knew they were getting to win, because they have that money backing. And if you look, I fought Andy Yildirim in Cologne, Germany. After the fight, the scorecards come up on TV. 117, 113 for him. 117 for me. Come up on TV, and all of a sudden,
for a guy, you piece it up.
He gets the belt. Now you look at that. 3 more fights after he fought me, he fought Canelo. Got taken out in the first round, but probably made $1.2, $1.5 million.
Wow. Even though you've been loaded up, you still get exposed. That's a thing, Like boxing is crazy. The guys that are not so good still get exposed eventually.
They
Eventually they
do.
get exposed.
They do. Yes, sir. Brother, I'm gonna take you with me. I gotta drive right now. I gotta take my son. He's gotta go to soccer. I,
Oh
bro,
wow. Interesting.
when you have kids, you become a
Family
full-time Uber
man.
driver.
A full-time Uber driver.
And we don't
Let's
get
go on
paid.
this ride. Ah, whoa. Yeah, definitely you will get paid in the future.
Oh
You're
yeah, yeah,
you you're being paid in kind.
exactly.
By
Yeah,
their success in the future. Definitely that's a payment in kind.
yeah.
How soon are you stepping out?
I gotta take him right now. He's like, Dad, we're gonna be late.
Oh wow, let's do that. I can pause the recording. We're back. We're back. Wow. Fantastic, time out with the Uber dad. Uber, being an Uber man is part of your job description, but
Part of
sadly you
it.
don't earn money. You don't earn money off it. Getting back to our MMA questions, right? The mental toughness that's required to compete at the highest levels of MMA is quite immense, right? And it's intense. So, have you ever had moments of doubt or fear, and how do you get to overcome them?
um, yeah, no, I never had moments of doubt. You know, especially in the fight. Never, because I always knew that I put in the work training to get me to where I am. So never ever had moments of doubt. In my boxing career, standing there waiting for the decision, I always knew when I'm not in the hometown and we're going to decision. I already knew. You didn't even have to tell me. I already knew I'd lost.
You can smell it.
I already you. That's the thing is I tell people, when you get brought in to fight, I said you're losing the fight before you even get there. And then when you get there, they're gonna try to give you little complications, to even make it worse for you, right? But that's
Hmm.
where the mentality comes in, right? And it's like I can't be broken. My mentality is I have too tough of a mentality.
Hmm. Interesting. But that, MMA is quite, demanding. Combat sports basically is demanding, right? Not just for the fighters, but for their families as well. So how, has your career affected or impacted your personal life and your relationships?
Yeah, well, when I first started into my career, I sacrificed a lot, being away from home 6 to 8 weeks at a time, training in Montreal, on the other side of Canada. Um, Pretty much after I think 6 or 7 MMA fights, I was in training camps in Montreal away from my wife and then I had kids and it was hard, because I'd have to be away all the time because I needed to get that great training, right? And always in things in lives, things come with sacrifices of things that you need to do, right? And that was one of the things that I sacrificed a lot was being at home and to get me to where I am today.
Hmm. Interesting. Like you have a happy family, you have a son, you have a daughter, and of course your kids are also involved in sports. Like, how do you manage, the juggling of business, kids, and of course, how do you manage the mentality of the current crop of generation? That's the Gen Z, right? They have a different, mentality from us, the millennials. How do you cope?
Yeah, well, see, my kids are raised different. They're raised under my house. So they're raised by the way I was brought up. You know,
Oh.
my kid, you know what? I do not hide things. I do not hide things from my kids. They know what is right and what is wrong. And they know that by what I say is right and what I say is wrong. You know, not to what the government and the school is trying to tell you guys.
Mhm.
So, you know, I let them know, you know, because a lot of people will shelter their kids in the house. They won't tell them things. They won't let them know things. But then as soon as you open up that door and they take a step off your front porch, they're introduced to everything now, to the world. So I
Mhm.
never ever wanted my kids to come home and be like, Dad, why didn't you tell us this? Why didn't you tell me that? You know, my son is 13 right now, but he has the maturity of a 17-year-old.
Hmm.
You know, my daughter's 15, like she's going on 21. But you know, they
The
have
girls are always older. The
the
girls are always
girls always
older.
older. um, but you know, they have that. I keep it real with them. You know, I'm not gonna lie to them. I'm not gonna tell them nothing different. Um, they're not like the other kids that you know that their parents may not be like me. Because I keep it real. I don't shy away from things like you know. Especially with all this new stuff that they're trying to bring in. You know, I'm 42 years old, and never once in my life have I ever heard about, you know, another type of human being or another type of gender or, you know, like any of this stuff, right? And I'm not going to let that be soaked into my kids. My kids know you're a boy, you're a
Mm.
boy. You're a girl, you're a girl. Let's keep it as that, you know? And
Whoa.
so
You're shaking tables. You're
that,
shaking
hey, you know
tables.
what? And but you know what? I can't let that like. And anybody who knows me knows that's the way that I have no problem with confrontation. I have zero problems with confrontations. You know, I don't mind if you want to if you want to conversate with something with me, sure. If you think it's right, sure. But if I think it's wrong, I think it's wrong. It is. Everybody has an opinion. You
Yeah,
know,
but then we are in the age of cancel culture.
and cancel culture needs to be canceled. You know, because you can't change a culture. You can't cancel a culture that's been a culture for many years before you trying to cancel it. Like the whole thing
Mhm.
with Kanye West.
The
Straight up
Kanye.
Kanye. Kanye's my guy. You know what? Why? Because he says things that other people won't say, you know?
Yeah, but
And
but then I think he gets really, really controversial a lot, of times. And then you get it asked like, okay, what exactly is happening with this guy? Uh some people believe he has some mental health issues. Some people
he's
believe
just a
he's
genius.
extreme.
He's just a genius. Like
His he
man, like from what he did just these last recent couple months over the Super Bowl, you know, it's crazy to
Mhm.
see because, you know, I look at it as Kanye, when he became Kanye West through, you know, the industry of the music industry, he was owned. Like he's come out and said, you know, everybody is owned.
Mhm.
And what he did to give up billions of his money to go to be broke, to come back and now to not be owned by anyone, say what he want to say, do what he wants to do, like Dave Chappelle.
Dave
You look at
Chappelle, yeah, I respect that guy a
these
lot
guys
as
are
well.
OGs, and these are the way that people should actually see. Like you know, like we don't have the money that these guys have, but they let you know, like we're not selling our soul.
Yeah, they're authentic.
They're
They are
authentic, right?
authentic.
And
Dave Chappelle,
me,
even Joe Rogan as well.
Joe
Authentic.
Rogan, you know, like these guys are authentic, and like you know, when people talk about me, I'm authentic too. I keep it real. Like, you know,
Exactly.
it's what they're doing today is it's crazy because you know they're messing up with a lot of people that it's like, what are you guys doing? I don't understand. What is the plan here? What is your guys' plan? Because you know, for one, you're making people not want to work. That you're making people like feel that they're owed, you know, that everybody has to care about their feelings and how they feel and this and that. And it's like, well, if it's not reality, I don't care. Like, you know, I know what's real and I know what's not.
But then, you know, it's really crazy how hyper or super sensitive, you know, some of these people can be, right? And I am a guy from the corporate world, and I can tell you for free that I've been in situations where probably okay, like there was one that like really hurt me and really got to me. It was an interview session wherein I was, you know, going for a job, and I did not get that job. I did not, you know, the interview was, you know, a negative feedback. Why? They said one of the things is that I was not sensitive in terms of, you know, addressing people by the right kind of pronouns.
Not a chance. It's not happening.
Whoa.
You
I'm
know
like,
what? It's like,
whoa,
like it,
what's
so
happening
I'm
here?
sorry,
I'm like, okay,
I
like,
didn't call her them.
and you
Sorry,
know,
but
you
that's
get
only one person.
you get to think back and like, okay, what is happening? Like, you have to be it's like you're walking on eggshells, right? Because it's not like I'm not against, you know, the community, right? I am, you know, very tolerant, very accepting, you know, respectful, right? But then you now trying to say that because I did not address, you know, or I assumed certain people's, you know, gender, that's, you know, makes me sound inappropriate. And then it just makes you feel like, well, what is the world turning
Where
into?
is your head? Exactly. Like, sorry, if he looks like Paul, I am calling him Paul. I am not calling him Linda. Like, if you want to pretend that you're a goldfish, right on for you. Pretend you're a goldfish, but I am not playing into your game. You know? Because if you're a goldfish, you shouldn't be walking around. You know? You better get back in that water before you stop breathing.
But to be honest, right, it's quite confusing. Yeah, because for me, you know, a lot of us like have different varied opinions, right? For me, I'm one of those people that, okay, yeah, I know what I hold on to personally, right? But then in like public spaces, I am a strong believer in respecting people, respecting what people want to be identified as, right? Respecting your stance on certain on anything you wish to identify with or identify as. But when you now bring that against me, right? And against, you know, my bread, my daily bread,
100%.
my
My beliefs,
like
my,
it,
yeah,
it becomes like a personal thing. Like you are denying me like financial opportunities just because of these kind of situations.
because you're
Then
not
I think
following into their agenda.
then it gets to hurt you. I think it gets
Then
to
it, yeah,
hurt you big
exactly,
time.
right? Then and
Yeah.
that's one thing, you know, that I've been trying to find out now because you know I've started my promotion and everything, right?
Mhm.
And usually in my more on my in the morning, I always post up on my Instagram, you know, good morning, you know,
Mhm.
and always has quotes and you know, but it's real on everyday life. Like, you know, whatever's going on in the world, you know, I usually have a good morning post to something that's going on, you know, and
Mhm.
like what they're trying to tell us that does not make sense to me. I let people know this is not, you know, and But then I gotta understand now. It's like, man, it's like I'm saying these things that I gotta understand that because I'm a real person and I like to keep it real. You
Mm-hmm.
can't do that now in the world.
Mm-hmm.
You can't be real now in the world because the world is very fake. And
Exactly.
for for me keeping it real, now it will cost me a lot of things.
Yeah,
Because
now you realize. Now you
it,
realize, right?
now you realize
It
that
is
like
very.
it's crazy because like I believe that there's a so like I had a like and my wife told me this because when they started doing this whole transgender thing in the schools and like all this stuff, like like I made sure that if that was happening in my schools, my kid's not going to school that day. They don't need to be around this stuff, and
Why?
and
Why
then my
though? Why though? But then it's essential for them to be informed, about these things, and also to know the stance of your family about this. That's my personal opinion. I'm not even a parent yet, right? But
yeah
for me, that is what I believe, and everybody's entitled to their opinions, right? Because
yes
for me, like I told you, like I like being authentic. I'm my authentic self, and part of me being authentic is being respectful to people, right? But I have noticed something, right? Especially coming from an African background. I grew up in Nigeria for about 30 years before, relocating to the UK, right?
yeah
And then I noticed, that in Africa, our parents tend to shield us, against like certain information. And then you moving into the Western world, it sort of costs you because you don't have that level of, exposure or emotional maturity, that is required to address like certain um first world issues. But when you get exposed to these things, but you know that okay, there's a certain stance that your family, your culture has on these things, right? It makes you have a strong sense of identity that this is where I stand. However, I have to respect the people in the outer world. What's your
oh
thought on that?
no 100%, like like I always tell people, like I have no problem with gay people. I have friends who are gay. You know, I could bring a couple of gay friends that I have into a room with a bunch of people, and you would not know that they are gay. The one thing that I do have a problem with, though, is the government and the school systems pushing this stuff in our face. And my friends who are gay, they have the same problem that I do. Is that why are we doing this? Because not only them pushing this all into us and all our faces, well, now you're creating a stance between them and us because we don't, what you do in your personal lives, hey, it's fine, but please don't come to my 5-year-old son or daughter and try to tell them something different. Like, this is not what they're in school for. They're in school to learn, to become productive people of society. They're not in school to learn that if they don't feel comfortable as a boy, that they can be a girl. If you don't feel comfortable as a girl, you can be a boy. No, sorry, school is not for that. School is
Mm-hmm.
to teach you how to make money and be a productive person in the society, right? Whereas when they start pushing this stuff, and then my kids are coming home asking me questions, I don't like that now. Because this is something they shouldn't even be asking questions about at 5 years old. They should be asking about, should we go outside and kick a baseball or kick a soccer ball, hit a baseball, go play basketball, not be talking about, I am I a boy or do I feel like a girl? Like, come on.
But but we try to put an age on these things. So what is the right age for them to ask these questions, right? It's quite
Well,
dicey. It,
you cannot
it's a
drink
difficult
until you're
one.
18. You cannot go to a bar. You cannot get a tattoo. You cannot do all of these things until you're an adult. why is it okay for you to be talking to children about sex and stuff when they're little kids? To me, it's a little form of pedophilia.
Can I play the devil's advocate here? Right? Let me play the devil's advocate here. Now, sex is actually a natural phenomenon, right? It's biological, right? So you don't have to be 18, before you have sex. A lot of people statistically actually do have sex before the clock 18,
Yeah.
right? Yes. So it's not something that the government can really like place, effective controls on, right? And in fairness to the government, like a lot of LGBT young people actually encounter bullying while growing up. A lot of people who feel like they're gay or they're lesbian or they're trans, at very tender ages tend to experience bullying, right? But then, that awareness amongst kids makes them realize that, okay, people are different, there's diversity and inclusion, right? In that public education setting, because remember that this is public education, this is, and education is not just about learning skills, it's also about awareness, right?
Mm-hmm.
So for looking at it from that perspective, they should try to tailor the curriculum more towards awareness about these issues, not imposing it on these kids that saying, oh, if you feel this way you can do this, or if you feel that way you can do this. But then I don't know how these educationists, right, can actually tailor these programs, right, in order to ensure that it is more for an awareness purpose. Because think about it, like these people who are LGBTQ plus members, or I don't know how to frame it, right? And they're young human beings. They go through a lot of bullying, a lot of segregation, a lot of negative energy from young people. And we all know what bullying can do. Like bullying can have a negative life effect, long lasting life effect on people. So in terms of the awareness, I think for me personally, that's my opinion, right? In terms of awareness, right, I think it's not a bad idea letting kids be aware that, okay, there are these kind of people, right? And you need to respect their rights, you need to respect their human rights, you need to respect them, but it doesn't make sense trying to enforce people to say, okay, you can be this, you can be that, putting certain ideas into people's heads. But I feel like as parents, sometimes parents can probably be maybe extra sensitive, right, about these things. You probably would not even like check what the curriculum is about, or once you see like certain hot topics.
Oh, I've seen some of the stuff, and it is unbelievable what they're showing little kids.
Tell me about it.
Bro, they have these books here that for these kids like 7 years old, showing them how to masturbate, what feels better, like stuff like this. I'm like, what?
Whoa!
Like, I'm like, you're telling, like, for
Jeez.
one, bro, it's crazy. It's crazy. And like, that is just the big part of like with me, with like, man, like these kids, I don't tell they're 15 at least, should not be knowing, like, like you should not be teaching this. And for one, the teachers at the schools, why are you teaching this to these kids? You're supposed to be teaching them math. Like, like no, but you're also giving these kids you have kids walking around here believing that they can be a cat. Like, believing like, bro, like, but this is like what the government is letting these kids do, like being able to say, oh, I could be a cat. Like, no, you can't. Like, like but it's like, it's that thing where it's like, my kids are 13 and 15 and they still don't even know what they want to eat for lunch. Let alone what gender they are.
Your wife is laughing in the background.
She knows. She's like, because I go, man, I'm real hard on this, right? Because like it's man, like it's crazy. It's crazy, right? And especially, like for one, like the LGP, that stuff it is what it is. There are people, they're around and stuff, but the one thing that really is getting to me is the whole transgender thing. Now, for me, when you have a 40-year-old man that's been lived a man his whole life, and all of a sudden now they're saying it's okay for you, and now you got this 40-year-old man that wants to say now he's a woman and thinks that he's going to walk into a change room behind my daughter and go into the change room. Well, we're going to have a problem now. And and this is the thing,
and guess
right?
what? Guess what? On a lighter note, right? That is why we have gender neutral toilets now.
No, but bro, here you're allowed to go in the change rooms, the swimming pools, like, and you can't even say nothing. You go up to the front desk. Yeah, sports too. This kid here in St. Albert, it's a U13 girls soccer team. There's a boy that's out there on the girls soccer team that says he's a girl that's fully out there running around playing like a boy. Thank God he's not on my daughter's team, because I'll be talking with the parents. Like last year, my daughter came home and she's like, Dad, she's like, the teachers came into this class today and they said for city track meet today that if you don't feel like running and the gender that you are, that you can run as the other gender, and that we might be running against boys. And I said, oh, really? I said, well, Bella, I'll tell you right now, I said, there's going to be a big problem at that field if you end up running against a boy. Because it's not happening. Hey, if other people want to let that happen with their kids, go right ahead. But I am not letting that happen. You're not going to have your boy running against my daughter and smokes her in the 100 or 200 meter, and then my daughter is looking down upon herself because she just got beat by a boy who thinks he's a girl. No, I'm sorry.
That's the height of confusion.
People can say whatever they want about me, saying that I'm disrespectful or whatever. Well, you know what? I'm sorry you can say that, but you know what? I am never going to let that happen to my kids. Never.
Speaking of transgenders in sport, did you see? I think there was a guy who is a transgender female competing in MMA. Even in MMA,
and
right?
He was a special force, and he was a special forces on the army. Whoa. And he fought that girl, and he hit that girl one time, and you looked at that girl's face and her eyes, and you could tell she did not want to be in there because she got hit by a man. What? So let's just say, because you do know now, USA and Canada boxing have allowed transgenders to now compete in whatever category they want to. So that's crazy. Let's just say Mike Tyson feels like, I'm going to be a girl. I'm going to go enter the girls' boxing. So you're going to let Mike Tyson fight a woman. I don't understand. Like, do we need to see somebody die? And it's not going to be a man. This is the thing is, it's not going to be a man, because you never ever see women crossing over to men's sport. I don't know. Can you tell me one that you've seen? Because I haven't seen one. But I can tell you how many men that have grown up as losers their whole life playing sports and could never win as a man that now turn over to, I'm a girl, and now they become champion. We had a guy here last year.
That's some hilarious shit.
We had a guy here last year, 55 years old, runs in a seniors women's triathlon. He smashed them by like 16 minutes. And he was presented a medal and everything for beating a bunch of old women. So you know what a buddy of mine did here? You know what a buddy of mine did here? Just to make everybody look like a bunch of idiots. He entered the Alberta powerlifting women's powerlifting competition here in Alberta. And he showed up. He's 300 pounds. He showed up and said, identify as a woman. You know what? They couldn't say anything. They couldn't say anything to him. He does the bench press. He smashes the bench pressing record. Okay? And I'm going to tell you something. You're going to laugh. The girl,
I'm laughing already.
the girl guy who had the record made a post crying that this guy came into the women's tournament and beat everybody, but failed to realize that he's a man himself. And he's crying because another man came in that was stronger than him and killed his record. I'm sorry, but I call that a mental illness. You know?
Drops mine. Whoa.
Bye. You know?
Whoa. Crazy.
Yeah, you know, that's my stance on this. Like, hey, you know, I believe everybody, it's their life. They can choose the way that they want to live it. Hey, do what you got to do. But don't throw it in my face, throw it in my kids' faces. You know, that's the one thing I don't care. Back in high school, there was gay people, but they weren't flaunting it around. We have a street here downtown on White Ave. It's called White Ave. Back in the day, it still has all the nightclubs and everything on it, but there's a street there back in the day that, you know, they would have the guys, the preachers with their microphone, and they'd be preaching about God and everything on this corner. The last 2 years, the LGBTQ have come and taken over that corner. That is their corner now. So now the guy who is preaching about God is there with a bunch of LGBTQ trans people, you know, thinking now that that is their corner. But it's like, man, I'm like, you have this guy preaching about God. And then, you know, I'm just like, the world has changed.
It's changed. God loves us all, you know.
God loves us all, you know.
It's a crazy world we live in right now, and you know the whole idea of people transitioning and now competing at another gender in sports. Like, I find it difficult to wrap my head around it. I find it difficult.
You know what I say? I say, listen. I said, if that's what's going to happen, make their own league. Make their own a transgender league, NBA, the Olympics. I'm telling you, a lot of people will tune in and watch. You know why? Because a lot of people go to the circus. You know? But you know what? Compete against your own. Don't come over here and try to compete against, you know, these athletes that have dedicated their lives, you know, ever since they were young to, you know, look at the swimmer, you know, that guy in the States, of the swimmer, I forget his name, but you have these girls who have been competing their whole life to become a world champion in a sport, to when they're at their peak, for a man to come in and take their spot.
It's actually
like,
quite unfair.
I couldn't imagine being that girl and how crushed to be standing on the second place, getting a second place medal for something you've dedicated and sacrificed your life for the past 15 years for this dude to come and take your shine. You know,
It's a
it's sad.
tough pill to swallow. It's a tough
It's
pill to
sad,
swallow.
right? It is, like it's like, man, I was like, man, I could never do that to my daughter. Like, I could never let that happen to my daughter, like it's, and then you see like here in Edmonton, like, you're always seeing every week we have a page here in Edmonton. It's called YEG Wave. So it's like these guys, they just go around and they just, everything that's going on here, they put it on this page. But consistently, every other day, they're releasing a pedophile. The next day, he's back on the page. They caught him again after they just let him out. And I'm saying, why are you guys doing this? You're letting this guy get out and ruin somebody's life and put him back in. And then you warn us that you're letting this reoffender back into public and knowing that he's going to recommit, and you're warning us, telling us. So I'm like, so what you are doing is, instead of keeping this person in there because it's a mental illness that they have that you cannot cure. You can cure a violent offender. You cannot cure a pedophile. You cannot cure a sex offender. That is a mental disease that they have in their body that you cannot rehabilitate those people. You can rehabilitate a violent offender. You can rehabilitate a drug dealer. And then I said to my buddy, I said, bro, why are they letting these guys out who commit these pedophile crimes and they're letting them right back out? He goes, Ryan, you need to understand one thing with this. He's like, just think about this. He goes, a pedophile, what does a pedophile do during the day? Well, he goes to work, he gets paid, he pays his taxes. He's like, okay, now he goes, now a violent offender or a drug dealer, somebody who's in a gang, what do they do all day? Well, they sell drugs, they make money, they don't pay taxes. He goes, okay, now that pedophile gets caught for doing something, they put him in, but they know soon as they let him out, he's going to be a good boy, he's going to go back to work, get that paycheck, pay those taxes. Whereas the drug dealer, he's going to get out, he's going to go right back to doing what he's doing, not paying the government anything from taxes. And I get the thing about it, I'm like, damn, that is true.
Economic advantage.
It's an advantage for them. But then also, too, you go and you look at these higher elite people in the government. Look who's around them.
Yeah, we hear stories. Hear stories.
Yeah. So it's like, man, when he told me that, I was like, damn. I'm like, but, and I have to write on these YEG waves. I said, Edmonton police, why are you letting these guys out? I said, because what you are doing now is you are putting parents in jeopardy of doing a life sentence. Because now you didn't do your job by keeping this man or whatever it is inside jail, knowing that he's going to recommit. But what you do is you tell us, you warn us in your big post, we're letting this guy out again. He's going to recommit. So now my daughter's walking down the street. This man you just let out rapes my daughter.
God forbid.
I find this man now, and I will kill somebody. You have me on video. You rape my daughter, you rape my wife, you rape my son. I will do a life sentence. It is what a father is supposed to do.
Exactly. His father's meant to protect.
But now you just gave me a life sentence because I protected my daughter, but you let this guy out 10 different times and he wrecked 10 different people's lives for the rest of their life. Now they have a problem their whole life because they have trauma from what happened. That is the one thing I don't get about, all these little things that they're doing. They're almost trying to make it that it's acceptable. because now they're saying we can't call pedophiles pedophiles. That's rude to call them pedophiles. You need to call them MAPs. You need to call them minor attracted person. What?
MAP.
Somebody comes up and tells me they're a minor attracted person, I'm going to tell them two things. I said, for one, you better get out of my face because you're going to get hurt. And don't ever let me see you around my house. It's almost like they're trying to, like, you know, take away the stigma of the pedophile to, like, saying, no, these are just minor attracted people. No, I'm sorry. I'm like, you shouldn't be attracted to minors.
That does not seem right. It is
I
not
don't
right.
know anywhere in
You
the
can
world
never-
where it's right. You
You can
know?
never make it
Like,
you can never make it right. It's great. It's
and it's
crazy, right?
that's the one thing. It's like, you know, like now, like, you know, I have some friends now, they don't even have kids, and they're like, Ryan, they're like, man, I love seeing how you are with your kids. He's like, it makes me want to have kids. He's like, but I don't know if I want to have kids in this world.
Because it's tough, right?
It's tough. And just think about what we're dealing with now. I'm like, man, my daughter's 15. I'm like, what's the world going to be like when she's 25? What's going to happen in 10 years if this is what's going on right now?
The world is evolving rapidly.
You know, it's crazy. And it's almost like, you know how there was always that resurrection or like like, you know, when all of this LGBTQ and men start dressing as women, all of that started to come, and then all of a sudden it just wiped out. It's almost like we're coming to that part of the stage in the world in life where it's like it's gonna get wiped out, and like, you know, I don't know. It's like it's for me. That's why I live the way that I live, and you know what's going on, let it go past me.
So
You
it's
know?
a wild world we live in.
Yeah.
Wild world. And you know, speaking of the whole map thing, it just feels like a social provocation. You know that, you know, parents actually have, you know, certain instincts, you know, and then it just feels like you're provoking these people to act in a certain kind of way. Because I don't see how a father, like I am not a father. I have younger sisters, right? I remember
Yeah.
like some years back I saw some boy bullying my younger sisters, and then like I don't understand the kind of adrenaline that came into me, the rush, you know, running right there to, you know, start on business. So I can
Yeah.
imagine like being a father, right?
It's on another level. It's on another level now. It's
It's
like,
on another level.
I tell people, I said, you don't understand love until you have kids. You don't understand like protectiveness until you have kids. Like it's crazy because it's like you know, I always, you know, it's always, my mom always said to me, you know, when I was younger, she's like, you're going to see how it is when you have kids. You know, always like, oh, just wait till you have
My
kids.
mom used to
You're
tell me
gonna
that too.
see-
My mom used to tell me that too. Say you would understand until your father. I was like, okay,
No.
no problem.
Yeah, you know, and then it's like, oh, okay, I totally understand what she was talking about there.
You can never understand. The taste of the pudding is in the eating, you know.
Yes,
You
you know,
just never know. You never know till you know, right?
till you know. You don't know, now you know.
Oh, Dana White.
Yeah.
I like Dana White as well. That guy is quite authentic. Like he doesn't care what people think about him. Like
and that's,
speaks
you know
his
what?
mind.
That's the one thing that I love about the fight sports is that there's no, like when that one reporter from Canada, oh, you let your fighters have a long leash. Bro, the fighters aren't dogs. What do you mean a long leash? Dana said.
Like,
He's like,
exactly.
I am not going to let any man, I'm not going to censor any man for what he believes in and what he does not believe in. Like, I don't understand that, like that's when people are like, oh, you can't say it's just no, you need to like it is what it is. Not everybody is going to be on the same page.
Definitely, and that's a point of diversity,
And that's
Everybody
the one
can.
thing that I love about the fight sports, because what Sean Strickland said, could you imagine if Kyrie Irving said that?
No
He would be
way.
banned from the NBA. He would never play in the NBA again.
I swear, no way, no way.
Like,
Sean Strickland
could
is quite,
imagine
it's
if
quite a
somebody
loose
said that
cannon.
in the yeah. Could you imagine if there was a Sean Strickland in the NBA, the NFL, the NHL? Bro, he would have one interview and he would be banned for life.
That would be wild. That would be
It
wild.
would go wild, right? But it's you know what? That's the one thing that I love about the fight sports is that you know what? It's a platform and whatever it's something you got to speak on, go right ahead and speak on it. And it
Speak
is what
up.
it is.
Be
And if
yourself.
somebody has a problem, they're gonna come fight you.
Yeah, let them address it. And you can address it with a man dance, to
You
see
know?
what Sean Strickland does in the gym with these people. Speaking of Strickland, I think I'll like to have a conversation with him one of these days. Probably I'll have him on the podcast. Like,
Oh
let
yeah.
me know where his head is at, his mind is at on certain things because
He's
like
real,
he
as
he
real
just
as it gets, he
is
is.
he just likes to express himself and
Yeah.
not
Oh
really
yeah.
care. But
No.
uh, but the thing with censorship is it breeds a lot of fake individuals, right? And
Yeah.
when you don't censor people, the counterintuitive thing is that people are their real selves, and it's never as bad as what you think it might ever be.
Oh, 100%, right? And that's the thing is the world is censoring a lot of things nowadays. Is like especially like and it's a good thing though now that we all have social media because
Exactly.
back in the day when I was in high school, we didn't have social media. So you only knew what was happening if you read the newspaper or you watched the news or you listened to the radio. And other than that, you couldn't say anything because there was no other platforms letting you know different things. Whereas now, when that whole COVID came up, you know, thank
Digital
God that
age.
we had our phones because they're telling you one thing and 15 other places are telling you something different. So it was like we get censored here in Canada. We don't even get to see news. Like radio news and stuff that come up on Instagram and stuff, we don't get that. We're censored in Canada. Our prime
Wow,
minister censored that from us when COVID
that's
happened
wow.
to make everybody
Oh,
not be able to see what else was going on. So we weren't able to see anything.
but then how's the COVID period in Canada? The restrictions and all, like it must have been a really
Bro,
difficult period of time.
I'm telling well, us in Alberta, we were the Wild West. We were like Texas. They tried to do it here and stuff, but where I'm from, Alberta, it's like a bunch of rednecks. You know, it's
Oh,
like farmers, guys shooting guns, drinking beers, like big trucks, like it's different over here. So we when it first happened, everybody, when it first happened, when it first came out, of course, even me, I was like, damn, what is this? Like nobody knew. We got lied to until all of a sudden all those other media sources started coming up and got you thinking, then you got to see who's running these media outlets and who's running these and what's going on. And then you found out it was a big scam on the whole world. And it's crazy because they told us they lied and people still believe. It's so crazy. It is unbelievable. And like here in Canada, the liberals take all of our votes. So like in Quebec, Toronto, BC, big stance of liberals, and they all follow everything. So when they said take your fifth COVID shot, people were lined up getting the fifth COVID shot, even though after their
What
fifth
the?
COVID shot they had COVID 4 times.
Yeah, crazy, right? Because for me, I did 3 shots, but then like I had the COVID like multiple times. I was frustrated basically. I was like, so what's the point taking the shots when you're still gonna catch it?
That's what, and so it was crazy because I'll tell you the story. Actually, I fought in Russia in Moscow in 2020. COVID started in April 2020, I think it was, or something. But anyway, so I fought in Moscow, and then when we came back, this is before COVID was said anything about. We came back. Both my coaches went back to Montreal. I came back home to Edmonton. The next day we landed. Both of my coaches were like, "Bro, we're dead. We're sick, like in bed, sweating." And I said, "What?" And then, bro, that day I got it. I'm like, I had the flu, but bro, this flu was 10 days, like sweating, like just like,
Very
bro,
terrible.
it was different.
Yeah,
And then all of a sudden,
and you feel very weak.
yeah,
Very weak.
like I've had the flu, and when us dudes get the flu, the world's over. This one, the world was over twice. But it's crazy because after that happened, the next week, all of a sudden, boom, this COVID. Everybody's talking about COVID-19, and then right away, my coach writes me, goes, "Bro, we had this. This is what we had." And I was like, "What?" And then I look, and I'm like, "Shit! Every symptom they were saying, we had it."
Exactly.
But it lasted 10 days. I was fine. Like it was like, some people, a couple of my buddies got in, they're like, "Bro, I was good after a day," and then, so I wrote the guy that I fought. I fought this guy, Aslembek. I fought him for the WBC title. They robbed me. 10-round fight. This guy held me 55 times. 55 times he held me in 10-round fight. Got one warning. Nothing else. That dude gave me COVID. So after the fight, like I posted up some things. I'm like, man, this guy didn't want to fight me. He just wanted to hug me, and I kept showing the videos of him hugging me. He wrote me in my inbox and he said, yeah, he goes, "I was sick that weekend." He's like, "I had COVID."
What the hell?
And then I sent this to my coach and I'm like, this dude gave us COVID.
What the hell?
And then I'm like, and then my coach is like, "Do you think it was us that brought it back to Canada then?" I said, "Who knows,
Transporters of COVID. You should be proud of yourself.
But yeah, no, and then yeah, a lot of people, like the first little bit of it, I didn't know what was going on, nobody knew what was going on, and then started, different things, and then I was like, get out of here with this, miss me with that, like
I miss me.
man, I had my gym still open, I was still training people. I was like, you know what? I'm like, no, man, you guys ain't trying to fool me.
But then, it's really difficult to control people. Human beings are the most difficult beings to control.
A lot of us were difficult to control, but they controlled a lot more than not of us. They controlled, they controlled a lot more people than they could, like they controlled a lot more people that weren't listening to what they had to say, right? But then again, you look at it, that's what they were doing. They were seeing how many people we can get to listen to us, right? Because the next thing, and then what happened after COVID? Then they were talking about aliens.
The alien thing, the alien thing is just sweeping me off my feet. I'm like, just release me with that conversation. Anytime I
I'm
Did
like, what?
you
They
see?
coming? They are.
Did you see
I'm
the
like,
one they got from Mexico? Is in Mexico. There was like some image of some alien. They say is it that they dug it out or somewhere in Mexico? It was in the parliament. Blah blah blah. I don't know if you ever saw that thing.
I don't know. I
Let
don't think
me
I saw the one in
let me show
Florida
you.
though. The one they were doing in
Mexico
Florida, where they said the building, like there was
alien.
these big statues, like you know. Come on.
Like alien bodies in Mexico, and I think they were even showing it in their parliamentary meeting or something. It was quite ridiculous. I was like, what the hell is happening in the world right now? Like I'm trying to find the images for
The one
you.
thing that
And
happened, the one good thing that happened during COVID was, man, so many different ways to fight happened. Fight in a
then let
telephone
me
booth, fight in a car, five first
okay,
five.
let me show you. So you see, can you see this?
Oh my goodness. Would they get that from the
Can you
movie
see?
Predator? They probably got
Like
those
it
images
was
from the
just
movie Alien.
it was just so ridiculous, and I was like, whoa, what is happening here? Like this guy should
That's
not do this. It looks too ridiculous. Like why would you be doing this? Aliens, that conversation, I do not want to partake in that conversation.
yeah.
Avoid me, please.
Me
I've had
either.
enough. Like I have too many real life problems to be
Yeah.
worried about it.
Worrying about that. You know? I was like, give me that light, beat me up, Scotty.
I'm telling you, don't worry. African men are not worried about aliens, you
Oh yeah, no, I know.
Yeah.
Did you ever watch that documentary Matt Walsh of what is a woman?
What is a woman? No, no. I think
Oh brother,
I have to put
you
that.
gotta watch that.
I need
Watch
to put that on my to-do list.
yes, Matt Walsh. It's called Matt Walsh. He does this documentary. It's called What is a Woman? But it's
What is a
crazy
woman?
because he goes to Africa and he starts talking to them, you know, and he asks them what is a woman, and they tell them, and then he goes, okay, he goes, so but what if a man came back to the village and said that he was a woman? And so the one guy translates to them, and they look and they're like, kind of look like, what the hell are you talking about? They're like, no, no men do that here, you know. Like, there's man and there's woman. And then he said something to them about, oh, he goes, well, in the United States, he goes, men dress up as women now. And he told that to them, and they just started laughing. And then he goes, so do you guys want to go to America? And they're like, no. But yeah,
Whoa.
you should watch that. That'll give you really good insight of things because it's crazy. They go to high colleges in the United States and they talk to some professors, and and he asked the professors, you know, after they have a conversation and stuff, and then he asks them, he goes, "What is a woman?" And it is crazy how many people don't answer. Like,
They don't want to get cancelled.
that's the thing, right? They don't want to say the wrong things, and they're in the highest education of college in the United States.
Yeah,
And
you
then
have to be politically correct.
they have to, right? And
You
it's
have.
like, man, they can't say anything, and it's just like, guys, it's very easy. It is very easy. If a person
If you
has
ask me,
ovaries, because men don't have ovaries, you know.
if you ask me, I'll just tell you a woman is a woman. You gotta deal with it yourself.
But you saying a woman is a woman might be, you know, who knows? That woman might say he's a woman, but really that woman's a man.
Whatever it is, whatever it is. A
Said,
woman is a
only God
woman.
knows.
Only God knows.
That's
Don't
it.
ask me.
I say
Don't
God made
ask me.
Adam and Eve. God didn't make Adam and Steve.
Oh, now you're going around playing with words, right? You're wordsmith. That's nice. That's nice. That's nice. That's nice. Really, like we can laugh about these things, but then they're quite serious
Yeah.
social issues, right? But then let's get back to you. Let's get back to you. And MMA combat sports. So talking about like brand managers, promoters, we talked about those earlier, right? So like,
Yep.
how do you approach the business side of your career, and like, what advice do you have for the young up and coming fighters? You talked about how you wish you had somebody to guide you. Like, are you looking into that business side as well to
Yeah, well,
guide young
I
people?
started my own promotion here up in Edmonton, Real Combat League, under Real Deal Promotions, and it's just giving a platform for the next generation of fighters here to actually fight on a home stage platform. So they didn't have to do the things where I did. Go away and take those big risks. To make the money or to get their name out there in the world. Um, but the biggest thing for me, like, when it's for fighters going to promoters and getting managers, is making sure that they bring something to the table. Like, and for one, it's like, if you're an upcoming fighter and you're looking for a promoter or a manager, I would try to not get a manager who has a lot of guys in their stable, because
Mm,
then you need to understand that promoter or manager has these top guys in their stable that they get that top money for. So for them to come from, getting these guys the money to getting that low guy the money, they're probably not going to work as hard, because they know these guys are going to get that money and they get that percentage of, whereas this guy down here at the bottom, he's not really bringing in that much money, right? So I always say, you are your brand. You are what you need to sell yourself.
mm,
And now with social media, it makes it easy. You have a platform, a free platform. And,
exactly.
and that's what I did, during starting my career. I wish I would have got on the YouTube and all that stuff earlier. Um, because, now look at Jake Paul, right? It's, this generation is about views now. It doesn't even matter if you're an elite fighter. If you
Mm.
have 2 million people following you, you're an elite fighter now, because of this generation of views. It's true.
Yeah, it's really crazy. Like, we in the TikTok generation. Like, people just care about the numbers, but
Who's
there's
following
more.
them
There's
now?
more to that. Yeah.
Exactly, right? So, but yeah, for me, this generation now, it's about content, right? It's about who's putting out good content, that getting the eyes attracted, getting the people engaged.
But a lot of times it's usually quantity over quality, really. Like, a lot of
Yeah,
quality content is not actually engaging, because people just favor short form content, virality.
yeah, yeah. They're just posting, 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 but it's that one post, that will catch the eye and it'll go viral, and that's the one you need.
Hmm, interesting. So, but speaking of Jake Paul, what do you think about his? I don't know what to call it. His journey, his adventure into the world of combat sports. It's just been really crazy. A lot of people, okay, you are called the real deal. A lot of people look at him as a fake deal because he feels like he's fighting washed up fighters, right?
Who's
And
that?
it's Jake Paul. Jake
Oh
Paul.
yeah, 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 yeah. But like, and see, that's a lot of people that don't really have good knowledge in the boxing sport, the boxing aspect. Because if you really go and look at it, Jake Paul has fought way tougher competition than any world champion in the world right now in his first 8 fights.
Hmm.
You know, they're not boxers, but they're also not cab drivers that most fighters fight in the first 10 fights.
Tomato cans.
Bro, it's like
Padded
I said,
records.
it's the business, right? It's the business of boxing, and that's what it is. Like I'll tell you right now, you go to BoxRec and you go to Canelo Alvarez's record, go look at his first 20 fights. Go look at who he fought.
Canelo. Let's
You
let's check it
know?
real quick. Canelo Alvarez. You guys have a mutual opponent.
Yeah, yeah, Andy Yildirim. I think maybe one or two. But go to Canelo and he's like his record's like 56 or so. I forget what it is, but you go down, scroll to his first 20 fights, and maybe go to BoxRec. Oh yeah, I'll say it there. Is it his first fights? Yeah. So, uh, yeah, scroll all the way down to the first fight. Yeah, he's got close to 60.
Wow. His first loss was against Mayweather.
Yeah, his first loss was 44 fights.
Wow. Massive.
Okay, so now
So look at this.
look at right here. Look at these guys who he was fighting.
Like
Win
what
against guys.
this guy doesn't even like have a Wikipedia page. This person, let me see, Mexican fighter. Let's see what the guy's record is. Miguel Angel, blah blah blah. Total 556, 44. Okay, decent record. But the other guys, really, we don't really know much about them.
But see, also too,
So
it's like, see, so this is one thing I always tell people with boxing. They'll go to BoxRec and they'll look at the fights and they'll see a guy, he's 16-0, right? But if you go to his record and you look at the guys that he fought, right? Are you going?
okay.
So you go and you look at to the guys that he fought and you click their name. And yes, they're 6-0. So yeah, 60-2. So like you go scroll all the way down.
So look at this guy. 0-0, 0-0.
You see? So I always tell people they look at a guy's
Zero zero
record.
1, 360,
You,
220, 0-1, 450. These are like crazy records.
it's
16,
crazy.
13, 22, 9. Like definitely like look at the first how many records, how many fights. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7,
And then
8.
when you get to a guy with a positive record that he fought, you click his name and go look at the guys he fought. I can guarantee you, nobody has won. you know, that's how boxing works. Guys will look at a guy's record of 17-0, but they don't go on like see that guy's 50-50 fighter, 16-16, knocked out 10 times. you know? Like for
What
instance,
the
for instance, you go back and look at Jake Paul's last opponent, that black dude, he knocked him out in the first round. But he was I forget what his record was. But if you look at it, he got knocked out by a guy who was 3-3.
Well, let's check for Jake Paul. Okay, so who do you want to check?
So go to that August. See that
Andre August.
Andre August. That was the last guy that he fought. He fought that Ryan Berlin guy, but that guy was 17-2 and never fought in 6 years. Oh, they're making
Oh,
you log in, eh? You can just use your Facebook or something.
10-1 record.
Yeah, so
That's
10-1, and his one loss was by knockout against a guy who was 3 wins and 3 losses.
whoa.
So that's what I always tell people. Don't always look at the 16-0 record. Go and look at the guys that he fought. And then click one of their names, and you will see that he's 16-0, but he fought maybe 2 guys with winning records.
I keep fighting
Boxing,
tomato cans,
like I
having a
said,
padded
boxing is
record.
the business, right? Because what guys do is, you know, you get a guy like, say, like Devin Haney, you know, legit boxer, goes to the Olympics. If you go to the Olympics and you win a medal, right there, your price, even on your first fight, your price money's up because you're Olympics. Now, your first 10 fights, Devin Haney would fight 3 times in a weekend in Tijuana. He would fight Friday, he would fight Saturday, and he would fight Sunday. Same thing with Canelo Alvarez. Canelo Alvarez was 16 years old, fighting 3 times in a weekend, right, against men. But you look at it, you have your promoter spends $300,000 on your first 15 fights. Pads your record up. Now you're 15-0. He spent $300,000. Well, now you're 15-0. We're going to spend another 100. We're going to get you to 20-0. That costs us $400,000. Now you're 20-0. Now you're fighting for a world title. We're going to make $8 million. Well, now he gets his 400 back. He gets his cut, and your fighter gets the money. It's business.
Business. I see.
And I tell people all the time, I said, why do you think we are just seeing Ryan Garcia and Devin Haney? Why do you think we just saw Tank and Ryan? You know, it's because these guys are high-profile fighters. If one of them loses that 0, that comes with probably 3 zeros off their check. So you're never going to get, like back in the days, the Thomas Hearns and Hagler. Like, you're not going to get the Sugar Ray. You're not going to get the best. Like, man, I couldn't believe that they made the T-Bud and Earl Spence fight. That's a fight, you know.
That fight was right there in my head just now. Like,
the two
like
elites.
Boxing is getting back to the glory days. And I think with the Saudi Arabia influence in boxing,
they're going to make things happen now because everybody's going to get paid.
Yes.
Right?
It's, everybody's getting paid. Look at Usyk versus Tyson Fury. It was looking like that kind of fight would never happen. And the winner is going to fight Anthony Joshua. So it's happening right now.
That's Saudi money.
Wow, but that, like, who do you think is the top heavyweight right now in your books? You know,
well, the top heavyweight now, I like, after what Joshua did to Ngannou, I would say Joshua is, because Tyson Fury could not do that. Tyson Fury got put down. You know, Joshua made Ngannou, bro, you don't know how to box. This is boxing. Tyson Fury had troubles, right? So,
how about Usyk?
Yeah, see, like him and Joshua, I don't know. Joshua looks locked in right now. Joshua looks locked in right now, and but then again, Usyk is just, he's different. He moves. He's like, he doesn't sit there for you to get a shot.
He floats.
That's what he does, floats. Right? And he's got power too.
That's the thing. He's got volume and he's got power. But then who do you see winning between Usyk and Fury?
Usyk. I think Usyk's going to be too much movement and stuff for Fury. After Fury's last fight,
both of them are undefeated. And somebody's has to go.
Got to go. And that's what Saudi's paying for.
Whoa! I think we are on the same page with that selection. I think Usyk gets it done, but we never know.
And then we can only wait. Better be than Bivol.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So
I
who wins? Who wins?
you know what, like I've sparred with Better Beef, and this guy's a beast, bro. I've never been in a ring with somebody like this guy before.
I hear
Um,
that guy's very strong.
bro, he's a beast. This guy's power in
But
both hands. But the thing
Beaver
is,
is.
this is the thing with Bivol. He's younger and he's a volume puncher. The
Mhm.
first round, as many punches he throws, he will throw in the 12th round. Whereas Better Beef is more of a
He's a
walk
power
you
puncher.
down and hunt you down with both hands. But he's got power in both hands. I just don't. It's either Better Beef knocks out Bevo or Bevo wins a decision on a decision. That's the only way I see that fight going.
Hmm. Wow, interesting days right now in boxing. Many thanks to Saudi Money. And interesting. Speaking of Saudi Money, AJ versus Joshua. They had a
Yep.
press conference in London. I was at that press conference.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I was at the press conference. Met them. I discovered that AJ is quite bigger than Francis. In person. I was like, whoa, what's happening?
Whoa.
It's a different thing seeing people on TV and seeing them in person.
Person. Oh, big time. I fought in London. I fought
Yeah.
in London. I fought at the O2 Arena.
Oh, to Arena. Wow,
Yeah, I fought
interesting.
on the Lomachenko and Edwards card. I fought Joshua Boazzi.
Wow, interesting.
Yeah.
Like, I'd love for you to come to London again.
Yeah, brother. Yeah, I like it there too.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, wow.